If I asked you for a list of all the people who you trust, who would you put on that list? My mind immediately goes to my family and close friends. But then I think further. What about my teachers? Have I trusted them to tell me the truth in certain subjects? Or pilots? Don't I trust one each time I board a plane? Now, teachers and pilots typically have certifications in those fields, but let's take it a step further. When you drive through a green light, do you trust drivers coming in other directions to stop at their red light? Let me ask that again. Do you trust drivers who you have never met? Do you trust those complete strangers to prevent what could be a very dangerous car crash? When we're asked to think about who we trust, our first instinct is to think of the people closest to us. If you ask someone who they trust most, they certainly won't include pilots or random drivers. Yet when we're pushed, it seems we have to admit that we do trust those people. And it's not as though the subject of that trust is trivial. We sometimes trust them with our lives. Maybe what we should take away from this is that our intuition about trust is wrong. That our list of people we trust shouldn't be restricted to those close to us. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's a reason why, despite trusting so many people, we feel a genuine sense of importance when we hear the simple question, "Do you trust me?" When you stop to think about it, this is a really odd question, for a couple of reasons. Let's start with this one. It's missing an object. Trust you to do what? Often, trust comes in specific forms. For instance, I might trust my Uber driver to take me to the correct destination, or trust an electrician to work on my house. And in some cases, even when the question, "Do you trust me?" is left without a specified object, the object can still be inferred. If you're lending someone your car and they ask, "Do you trust me?" they probably mean, "Do you trust me to take care of your car?" But there are other times when the question, "Do you trust me?" really does stand purposefully alone. There's a unique meaning that trust takes on when the object is unspecified. When people say good relationships are built on trust, they're using the word in this uniquely powerful way. And when I asked you for a list of people you trust, it's likely that you interpreted trust in this specific way. If so, your mind went to people you trust in this way, those closest to you. This leaves us with the question, what exactly is this unspecified trust? And why is it so special? Well, without an object, we might think that unspecified trust has to encompass all the specific instances of trust. But there are people who I would say I trust even though I wouldn't trust them to, say, perform surgery because they're not a surgeon. Usually, when we trust someone in one specific area, we're trusting that person's skill. But in the case of unspecified trust, it feels wrong to make it dependent on any skill at all. Someone could be very talented in many areas, yet still be untrustworthy. And someone could be untrustworthy without being particularly talented. What then are we trusting if not a person's skill? Let's take a quintessential example of trust, a trust fall. When we fall backwards in a trust fall, the purpose is not to trust whether a person can catch us. That may also be tested, but it's not the intent. The purpose of a trust fall is to trust that a person will catch you. In other words, the kind of trust on which a trust fall is built is not one of ability, but one of decisions. We, hopefully, know that a person can catch us, but we trust that a person will catch us. Of course, trusting someone to catch you in a trust fall is still very specific, but we can generalize it for our unspecified trust and say that to trust someone is to trust that they will do X. Exactly what X is could get complicated, but let's leave it at this. It's whatever I, the person doing the trusting, believes the person I trust should do. Maybe that's what's in my best interest, or maybe it's what's morally right. Whatever it is, I trust a person when I trust they'll do the right thing in whatever situation they're faced with. That's a tall ask, and does a better job of explaining why we might say our trust is reserved to a select few. Our explanation of this unspecified trust is still missing something important, though: a definition of trust itself. What does it mean to trust that someone will do what's right? We might want to say that to trust is to know, to be 100% confident, but sometimes we say trust is broken. So either broken trust was never trust at all, because it was never certain, or there can at least be some uncertainty in trust. This brings us to the other odd thing about the question, "Do you trust me?" It's framed as a yes or no question. You must be certain one way or another. You trust or you don't trust. But trust isn't certain. In fact, uncertainty is even necessary for trust. There's no need to trust a rock to be hard, it just is. The trust in a trust fall comes from the fact that the person has a real choice not to catch you. Their choice adds uncertainty. Trust, then, is the uncertain belief that someone will do what's right, knowing that they have the choice not to. And when they don't live up to that belief, when they make the wrong choice, we say the trust is broken. The language we use to talk about trust warns us of its fragile nature. Trust seems to live in this precarious place where uncertainty, the possibility of the wrong choice, is necessary for it to exist. And yet only the correct choice can ever be made, or else the trust is destroyed. That could mean it's always only a matter of time before trust is broken. If it's tested forever, then eventually the wrong choice, which is necessarily possible, has to come about. But maybe there's a hidden beauty in this endless testing. Remember, when we're asked who we trust, we think of the people closest to us. Why them? Why not the driver who stopped at a red light that one time as you drove through an intersection? Didn't she live up to the trust you placed in her? But of course, whatever trust she upheld doesn't hold a light to the trust you have in those close to you. That trust has been tested countless times in countless situations, and all those tests have made it strong. See, it's when the odds are worst that trust is built the most. We may trust other drivers to stop at red lights, but those are easy odds. It's one time in one situation, and they have their own self-interest compelling them to do it. It's when trust is at its most vulnerable, when it's tested again and again in every kind of situation, situations when outside influences are out of play or even compelling the person we trust to do what's wrong. It's then that trust is made strongest. The beauty in the endless testing that trust has to endure is that when it can defy those odds, it continues to grow forever. Each time the right choice is made, that trust becomes a little bit stronger. When we list those we trust, we're listing people who have shown us time and again that they're worthy of trust. Each time we trust them, we once again make that trust vulnerable. Each time we trust them, there's a chance that trust is broken. But each time we trust them, and they uphold the trust we place in them, the trust becomes stronger. Only after that trust has been risked many times and strengthened many times do we deem that person worthy to go on our list of people we trust. Next time someone asks you if you trust them, think about it.